Hi, guys. Welcome back to another week. This week, we're all about blood sugar balance. And the reason I put this in your programming is because it is actually really important to understand how your blood sugar spikes throughout the day. It affects energy, it prevents crashes. It's also really important to know if you are diabetic or pre diabetic, or if you just really want to have a better understanding of how to balance your energy throughout the day. So let's get started. Um, I feel like we've all had those moments where you feel really, really energized after having food. Um, and then all of a sudden you're left feeling starving, you're tired, or you're craving sugar a few hours later. Um, a lot of people think that this just is because you've got lack of willpower, and in your head you're like, I just ate, I shouldn't be eating again. Or it's, you know, people chalk it up to like a sugar addiction kind of a thing. But in reality, your blood sugar fluctuations are probably what's playing a major role in this. Sorry, I've got a baby over here and a dog drinking water over here. um, so, what I want to focus on this week is how to balance your blood sugar so that you can work on improving your energy levels and your mood. It's going to help your focus, get rid of that like 3 p.m. slump. You're also going to notice things like better hunger regulation. Your workouts are going to be better, and then it's going to help you basically just continue to lose fat more consistently. So I just want you to keep in mind that the goal here isn't to eliminate carbs. Okay. I just want to teach you how to strategically use them throughout your day. So, um, blood sugar, also called blood glucose, that's what you would see it labeled as on like a blood test. Let me get rid of this because I don't want to add notes. All right, guess I can't. This is your body's primary source of energy. So basically, when you eat carbs, your digestive system breaks those down into glucose, which is also known as sugar, and then that enters the bloodstream, right? That's why when you have a really high carb meal, you get you have a lot of energy, you get hyper, things like that. So it enters your bloodstream. Your body then releases it it releases a hormone that's called insulin. And that insulin acts like a key mover. Like it's basically what moves the glucose throughout your bloodstream into the cells where it's then used for energy. I hope that makes sense. This process is completely normal. The problem occurs when your blood sugar rises so fast and then it falls really fast throughout the day. So if that happens multiple times throughout the day, you're going to notice things like sugar cravings, really hard crashes, and things like that. Because we're basically taking your sugar levels, like your internal sugar levels, and you're spiking them really high and then dropping them really fast. It's basically like a sugar roller coaster. So if you think about this in a few ways, so a lot of us start our day with coffee that probably has a ton of sugar in it, especially if you're like a Dutch Bros lover, or you're getting a fancy coffee, right? If you start with breakfast that has like sugars in it, so basically anything other than like Raisin Bran, sweet cereals, pastries, all of that food, they digest really quickly, and it causes a rapid rise in your blood sugar. So basically you eat that and your blood sugar just shoots straight up, right? So that spike is obviously going to be followed by a rapid drop. So you get it really high and then it drops super fast like a roller coaster. And that's when you experience those crashes throughout the day. So you're going to notice things like that 3 p.m. slump or brain fog. You might start to get really irritable and crave sugar. You might notice that you start to have some really low motivation. We start to see these a lot towards the end of the day because most people eat something that's very refined for breakfast, and then they don't eat anything, and that basically spikes your insulin levels. You probably skip lunch, or you're eating something that's, not super great for lunch. Um, and then by the time that digests, you feel that really sudden crash. Um, so basically, like I just said, we respond to that by reaching for sugar, because we think we just need something to like act as an upper. Yeah, you fake coughing over there. Um, but basically, that cycle of spikes and crashes throughout the day is what is really causing the problem. So if you notice things like you needing caffeine to stay alert, if you start to feel hangry, afternoon crashes, feeling like you just want to snack all of the time, really strong sugar cravings, these are all signs of those blood sugar swings, or like that insulin roller coaster. Um, I know I have experienced that. I feel like probably 99.9% of the population has experienced that. Um, so, how do we stabilize that? Um, the good news is that it is possible, and it doesn't actually require you being on any medication. You don't have to be perfect in anything. It really just comes down to making these small adjustments. And one of the simplest strategies is food pairing. So, because carbs is what digests into glucose. You can basically counteract this by pairing it with proteins and healthy fats, or something that's high in fiber. And the reason that this works is because those proteins, fats, and fiber digest a lot slower than carbs do. So it basically prevents that really fast release of sugar into the bloodstream. Um, and it allows it to just kind of be a little bit slower of a release, if that makes sense. So it's just going to end up being a steadier release of sugar, of glucose, over the course of a couple of hours, instead of that really sharp spike and then drop. Some examples of this would be, instead of eating plain rice cakes, they digest very fast. Pack it with some peanut butter. For breakfast, instead of just eating fruit by itself or toast by itself, pair it with something that's high in protein. So toast and eggs, or eating some yogurt with that. Instead of just eating crackers as a snack, pair it with some turkey slices, or a healthier fat cheese, those kinds of things. So you basically just want to avoid eating carbs alone by themselves altogether. One of the most underrated nutrients for metabolic health is fiber. Most people don't even know what foods consist of fiber. They don't have any idea that we should be tracking fiber, but it's actually really important. And in a lot of my clients over the past 10 years, increasing their fiber, or just paying more attention to their fiber intake, has actually helped them get over a plateau, or start being a little bit more regular in the bathroom. All of those things are controlled by fiber ultimately. So it basically helps slow your digestion. It makes you feel fuller for longer, thus making it easier to stay in a calorie deficit if that's what your program is calling for. It stabilizes that blood sugar. It also helps reduce cravings. A lot of people focus only on calories and protein when they're dieting, and they completely overlook fiber. And it is a huge part of how successful you're going to be long-term in keeping body fat off. So this week, I want you to start paying attention to your fiber intake alongside your protein goals. So look at the back of your packaging, whatever you're eating, the nutrition facts. See how much fiber is actually in there. We want to be eating fiber with at least 2 to 3 meals. That should ideally get you to the 20 to 25 gram mark per day. And that's the daily recommended amount of fiber for women. You can do this really easily by adding things like beans to your salad, chia seeds to your yogurt. Oats are great. They're high in fiber, anything that's whole grain, apples, pears, those kinds of things. Um, so I want you to just start paying attention to not only tracking your protein, but how much fiber you're eating as well. And was telling you that carb timing is really important for that, like control of your energy throughout the day. So I just want you to remember that carbs are not the enemy. You can still eat carbs. It's actually the first thing that your body prefers to burn as a fuel source. The key to this is understanding when to eat carbs in order to support your energy and your performance based off of your goals, right? So when you're in a resistance training program, like you all should be, we're going to find it best to use those energy spikes from carbs before workouts, after workouts, and then add them in with any protein-rich meal, okay? This is going to help improve your workout performance because you're eating carbs ahead of time, giving you that energy. Your workout is going to use those carbs to fuel your workout. And then it's going to help regulate your appetite after so that you don't become ravenous after doing a hard workout. So I just keep in mind, I don't want you guys to fear carbs. I just want you to be more aware of the impact that they have on your body, and that the goal for carbs is to be fueling your body intentionally. Okay. So, I want you to kind of pay attention to how your energy goes throughout the week when you start paying more attention to your fiber intake and your carb placement in your meals and things like that. So it's not something that you have to like change immediately, but I do want you to start paying attention to it. I want you to ask yourself, like, when do I feel my best? Is it after a certain meal? Is it after eating a certain type of food? When do you feel tired? Are you one of those people that suffers from the 3 p.m. slump? If so, like, what did you eat for your lunch? When was your lunch? Those kinds of things. When do cravings hit? For a lot of us, it's at nighttime when we start to snack, and that's when we crave sugar. And usually that's because we haven't eaten enough of these things throughout the day to properly fuel our body, right? So I just want you to kind of take notes. Mental notes are great. Even better if you want to throw them in the group chat, of what your energy levels are like, what your hunger levels look like. Are you craving things, your meal timing, all of those. So just something to think about. Be aware of that. That's all I got for you on this. I hope it makes sense. Of course, you can reach out if you have any questions, but I will see you guys on the next one.